Welcome to the Right Gauge Podcast. We are your hosts. I'm Kyle. This is Josh. Today we're joined by a registered dietitian, Michael Horner. He primarily serves like the general population, chronic disease management, and athletes, which is why we're really excited because we're all about the world of training. He's a friend of Danny Myers-Glynn. She's been on the show. She recommended having him on, so we're real excited to have you here.
Welcome.
Yes, I am excited as well. And thank you, Danny, for introducing us.
Yeah.
I want to just say a big shout out. Thank you for coming on. I've reached out to quite a few people in the dietetic field. Very hard to get a hold of.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure why. Having we had talked before, having gone to college to be a dietitian and then not finishing it like a dingus, but it's very exciting for me to have someone that actually finished and then operates in the field to have on. So,
and I'm excited because nutrition has been like one of those things I've been super interested about for like 25 years. So like I have a lot of bits and facts in my brain, but they're all archaic and apocryphal. And so I'm excited to go through and find out what things I know that are real and what things that I know are trash and should be dumped immediately.
We should have said this. Kyle has some weird, I don't even know what type of thing it is, but he eats just like powdered milk, cottage cheese, and
I do
salt.
Your diet. It's not, there's no powdered milk, but I do enjoy some cottage cheese on the regular.
He only eats like 4 things ever.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to help you with that.
No, but you ask.
That sounds like a you problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the side effect of having chronic migraines. So I have a real limited diet.
He's just learned what doesn't trip it.
Yeah, which would be a fun deep dive to see. Every so often I go and I try to read about it. Here's one of the things though about if you have like really severe chronic pain, I discovered this when I was younger. They had I get like every version of a migraine that you can get. I get cluster headaches, I get everything. And I remember there was a while where like I tried to like go read research on cluster headaches because they're just brutally painful like to go through. That's the most painful thing I've ever been through by like a factor of 100, and I've done some dumb shit. And I couldn't even like read research on it. Like I'd read it and it would make me like start tearing up, and I'd be like, okay, well I guess I'll read this in a couple years or something. Like I don't know.
The biggest cause of cluster headache is reading about cluster headache.
Yeah.
I mean, some of those research papers are dense, so I can understand that.
Yeah.
You know, I also said the same thing, and that's one of my biggest fears of going back is just I'm not a huge fan of reading scientific literature. Before this happened, I always joked that my research paper was Kyle. We've known each other for a long time. So he would just digest the information, then we would have a conversation about it. And then who was it?
Max?
Chris.
Oh.
Somebody told us, they were like, dude, just throw the research paper into ChatGPT and say, give me the layman's terms.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God.
Yeah, that can definitely give you like a good, I feel like a pretty good top level view of that research paper.
Mm-hmm.
Or it lies to you.
Yeah.
It lies to you. Yeah.
Do we know
like it does have its own agenda sometimes, for sure.
Yeah.
So what do you think? Why do you think the reason is you couldn't get a dietitian on?
I don't know. Very busy.
Yeah, this has been an interesting thing because there are different domains that we've reached out to, like dietitians. We've reached out to a bunch, none. Sleep specialists, not a single sleep specialist has even written us back.
Yeah.
Wrestling people, anybody associated with wrestling, wrestlers or wrestling coaches,
unless we knew them personally.
Yeah, unless we know them personally.
Yep.
They're just like in the wind. You
Top
know, it's
secret.
like a weird.
Well, wrestlers have like 4 days, right? 4 practices a day or whatever. So like I can understand why
they're busy.
They're busy. All right, you got to cut them some slack. I would be really interested in the sleep specialists. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I don't know. It's one thing I think about it is it's already kind of a clogged space, like nutrition advice. And most of the people that I know that are really solid in nutrition shy away. Understanding like the more you know, like everything that I know about nutrition, I'm probably getting something wrong, and it will be proven wrong because it's pretty new science, right? And we don't exactly know how everything is happening. So I do think that some people are just a little worried about going on, and then you say one wrong thing, and then you're labeled like you're the guy that wanted to claim
You could
this.
say something that is the state right now, and then in 6 months somebody will come out and be like, you didn't mention this though. This is a very important caveat.
Oh, that's probably one of the most frustrating things is like you're like, you know, dairy is fine, you know, dairy's good, and then people come back, well, I'm lactose intolerant and I can only drink, you know, almond milk. It's like
I wasn't talking to you.
All the caveats in the podcast, or this would be, you know, an entire I don't know, 8 long hour
Yeah,
podcast.
I've thought about that. Like if you made what was called the perfect diet,
Uh-huh.
and it like over a week you had every micronutrient, exactly how much we need, every macronutrient, right? Like you could feasibly do that
Maybe.
on paper,
Okay.
but like it would also kill some people, right? Like some people would just be crapping their brains out at all point in time. You would not like the moral ethics
Uh-huh.
of some of those things. You know what I'm saying? So there's not any like there's no such thing
Yeah.
as the perfect diet.
People are like, where am I supposed to get 500 grams of sturgeon roe? Like,
Well, I guess you could do it that way. I was thinking more actual feasibly, like you just got to catch sturgeon. You guys don't have sturgeon near
Yeah.
you? The dinosaur fish. But I think that is part of it. Is that some RDs have already made it, so why put yourself on a limb? You know, like one of the people I reached out to was I forget her name, but she's like the Seahawks dietitian. That's where we're in Washington. So that'd be great, man. That's some high performance athletes. And not only like high performance athletes, but that's like the body types are so different. So like what do you tell a lineman that's got to keep a
that
like,
wants to be 330 pounds?
Yeah, you've got to keep this man fat.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Legitimate, right? Like you've got to keep him fat, but also be like faster than most high school athletes and explosive and not wear his knees down. Like that's all part of it. While also having like some of the most explosive athletes on the planet. That's just that'd be so fun to listen to that. But why put yourself on the limb? Like why put yourself out there? You have in the dietetics world, that's probably the grand, like making, $200,000 as a dietitian. That's pretty damn good.
Yeah. And I think especially when you're going on a podcast and stuff, people aren't able to separate. So you're talking about the Seahawks sports performance dietitian. So you have people that are focusing on athletes, which is a completely different population than, your gen
Right.
population, or just your recreational athlete, right? Like those are not two of the same individuals.
Yeah.
So they'll hear you say, "Oh yeah, we're eating, 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. We're putting down 6 protein shakes with whole milk,
Yeah.
that." And then general population hears that and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's too much saturated fat. This and that. You didn't use whole grain bread, whatever." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think when dietitians come on podcasts, they get roasted because it's like, I think the people that are viewing these clips or the podcast, they're not able to like distinguish the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I get that sometimes. Sorry. I get that sometimes. So I'm a high school coach, and every year I do the same thing. I do a little 3-day dietary journal, essentially, and the kids give me the feedback. And often I have more kids, and it's kind of we're a poorer community. I often have more kids that are under 1,000 total calories than over 2,000 total calories. These are kids that are coming in and lifting every day and doing field work every day, right? So a lot of times even though I know plenty, like my dietary advice is like, I don't give a shit what it is. Just stuff food in your mouth, son. Like 800 isn't cutting it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely probably some error in the reporting from the students, but like even if you're adding on, I mean, we'll be generous. Even if we're adding on another 500-600 calories to your set,
they're still
like they're still way under their needs. And at some point you just have to be like, all right, we're just focused on your calories. Like I'm not worried about the composition, the macronutrients, the micronutrients. I'm the timing of it. No, we're literally just going to focus on your needs are probably around 2,800 calories. How can we get you there? And feasible in the sense of like, if these are underprivileged kids, looking at the school lunches, how you can beef those up for them, cost effective wise, right? And then at home, like what's their food environment at home, and how are you able to get the calories up there as well?
Yeah. Because at first I used to try to get pretty specific. I give good, solid
rookie advice.
I still try to educate, right? I still give them like, if you make here's some good advice.
Absolutely.
But also, like, I don't know how it was with you guys, but I couldn't have went home and been like, Mom, start making this.
Mm-hmm.
She would have been like, you could not eat.
Like,
Like, here's your shit on a shingle, right? Like, I forget what I don't even know what it's just like
yeah,
a
the
piece of
gravy.
white bread with gravy and some meat chunks on it, or
Yeah.
rice-a-roni or hamburger helper,
right.
right? Like, I didn't have
There wasn't an
other
option.
options. I could eat, so I just ate more.
Mhm.
Just, okay, this is what I got. I'll just eat that. I think I stopped eating white bread. They allowed that. Like, I asked them in high school, I was like,
Yeah.
can we go not white bread? I don't even know why that was the kick, right? I just
Right.
went like whole
Fancy
wheat
at the
bread
time.
or something.
Yeah.
But they did do that. So I had my shit on a shingle on
Yeah.
fucking whole wheat bread, which was way more gross.
Well, let's hope that we have a little agency. Should we talk a little bit about what the nutrition, why it might look a little different for people who are competing, like serious athletes who are training regularly versus the general population? Like, what are the it depends for why it looks different?
Yeah, so I mean, right off the bat, the calories are king, right? So their energy demands are going to be much higher. So if you're looking at somebody that's like, I don't know, like a professional marathon runner, or you were talking about, do you coach football? Is that what you coach?
Yeah, if we do, so we're both big into like strength sports, powerlifting
Yeah,
and stuff. And then I
powerlifting.
coach
He does football. I've done track. So
Yeah, so just right off the bat, the energy demands for athletes are going to be higher than general population. And when I'm talking about general population, we'll talk about maybe your average American that might exercise 2 or 3 times a week. It's not super structured, kind of have that office job. So we'll just kind of set that as for the rest of the podcast. That's going to just be our general pop guy or gal. So like energy demands are going to be higher, protein demands are going to be higher, hydration will be higher. So I'm not sure how in the weeds you want to get with it, but we can go maybe with maybe like specifics if you want.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we'll do as much as you want. I know, so when I was doing track real seriously, I remember journaling, and I would do about like 6,500 to 7,000 calories a day. And that was on the back of, I trained probably 5 to 7 hours a day. And I remember there was a bunch of changes that I made. Like, I tried to eat healthy, and I made money so I could buy my own food and everything. And I remembered things like, everybody was like, you got to eat brown rice, because this again was 20 years ago, right? And so it was like, you got to eat brown rice, you got to eat brown rice. I remember at some point I switched to white rice just because I was so tired of eating brown rice, and like my whole life got better. Like, it was, because I was eating thousands of calories of rice a day or whatever, right? And like the white rice was easier to digest, and it was easier on my mouth, and like there were changes like that I made that were just volume considerations, right? So like, whatever in the weeds you want to do, we're happy to hear it.
So that's a good point. Is I think of food on kind of 2 different spectrums, where you have low volume foods that are low volume foods that are high in calories, and then you have high volume foods that are low in calories, right? And so the low in calorie but high volume foods would be things like your lettuce, greens, celery, your fruits and vegetables.
Veggies.
Yeah, for the most part, especially like the real watery ones. And then on the other side of the spectrum is the really dense, low volume. Think like olive oil, nut butter. Yep,
Yeah.
butter. Typically, athletes are getting a lot of their nutrition stuff from diet culture, which is unfortunate. So you probably get the brown rice from diet culture, right?
Yeah.
It's better for you, right? It has more fiber. Typically what I'm seeing is athletes are under fueling. Like, people will come in, I put in 80 miles of running a week, and then I'm looking at their diet and they're eating like 2,100 calories. I'm like, what are you doing? So I kind of walk them through this food spectrum, and it's like most of the time athletes need to gravitate towards the higher density, low volume options. Obviously, they need to sprinkle in fruits and vegetables and the whole grains and stuff like that. But there's only so much volume somebody can eat that's trying to get to 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 calories. You know what I mean?
And yeah, and it's a good. I've talked about doing this, and I really should, but like putting out 3,000 fairly clean calories on a table is a considerable amount of food.
Yeah,
especially if you're creeping up to
like
4,000 or to the top level, like really explosive athletes. Like, that's not nothing. And kids will be like, "Oh, I eat a lot," and it's like, does that mean you had a big dinner?
Right.
Because that's usually what that means, is you ate seconds at dinner. It's like, okay, like maybe like even if it wasn't, so you punished 1,400 calories, you really stuffed yourself. It's like, but like the school lunch you only ate half of because it's gross.
Yeah.
So that was only like 500 calories,
Mhm.
and then you had what, a snack, maybe a protein shake. Like, dude, you're still barely cresting 2,000. People
Right.
don't understand. If you're not going to the drive-through and eating literally just crap, you're it's less than you think. Like
Mhm.
it's harder.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. Like you got to set some terms, right? When somebody comes to me, they're like, "Oh, I eat a ton." Like, what does that mean? You eat a large volume? Because like what you're saying, like you can eat large volume plates, 3, 4 times a day, but still only hit 2,500 calories, 300 or 3,000 calories, right?
Right.
Or are you saying you eat a lot of calories? Like those are. It sounds the same to some people, but it's really not.
Yeah, that little bit of education super important.
Yeah, I do
Defining
both.
terms. It's hard to eat clean until you or a lot of calories eating clean until you start going on a deficit. And then like that 1,800 or whatever you're at, it's just like, dear God, it's like noon.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, I could have 4 peanuts
Yeah.
for the rest of the day. Like, good.
Yeah, I think that's why it's also important for athletes to keep a thread of those high volume, low density options in, because that way, when they are going to we'll say for powerlifters, right? You talked about strength athletes. When they do go to cut, it's not like a full wholesale shift, right? So you're always kind of keeping the thread of, sprinkling all the kinds of, the high, low density. That way, you're not, at 1,500 calories and you're supposed to be eating 1,800 for the day and you're
Uh,
already at noon and you're like, what am I going to do? It's like, well, you had 2 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches and I don't know, a biscuit from McDonald's or something, you can do that when you're eating 4,000 calories, but not when you're eating 1,800.
yeah. Okay, so did you say a spectrum of the, low density to high density, or did you say two spectrums?
One spectrum. Sorry.
One
That's
spectrum. Okay.
that's just
Okay.
like my mental
Yeah.
model when I'm
Uh-huh.
thinking about food choices.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, I just didn't want to skip over that if there was another dimension to the way we were thinking about food, and not come back to it. So what do you see, like, you mentioned already that like a bunch of the food choices are informed by diet culture, right? And diet culture is hard because people want results and they want instant results, but they still want their stuff to taste good because compliance is the science. And like there's a lot of the diet culture is hard. So like what do you see in the like that are things that we get from diet culture that would be nice if we had a little better perspective on, or would die? Either one.
So things that we're used to, sorry, repeat the question, kind of like what we're seeing from diet culture that's just kind of people just think they need to adhere to in a
Yeah, yeah, like that they think is generally good advice, or things that come out of diet culture that you see a lot that you wish just didn't happen. Either one, like
Yeah, I just think that this like persistent push for low calorie, like let's see how low we can get every food option. How can I eat less? I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, for a while they demonized fat, for a while they demonized carbs, right? So I think protein is next on the slots there. But I mean, diet culture is typically running through, I mean, most of the athletes' minds that I work with. You talked about the brown rice. So yeah, wherever you want to take that.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't remember. I wish I had Kyle's brain here. He remembers everything, but I feel like in like the 1900s, like right around 1900, there was a small group that went no protein. It was like and they like all died like fairly quickly. Like everybody following that diet was just like sickly and just like dying. And it was like, oh, you can make it a lot longer on the no fat or the no carb diet. Like,
Yeah.
no protein. It's like,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, maybe we should talk a little bit about what's essential, so people have some idea of what they need to, what they need to have in building blocks, and then what's preferred.
Yeah. So okay, essential. Um. We're
ish. Can we say essential-ish?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it
essential-ish. Yeah. So you know, everybody's diet's gonna look a little different. We talked about different cultures. Maybe you're in are you in a low privileged area, Josh?
yeah,
Yeah.
sure,
Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, everybody's diet's going to look a little bit different. First and foremost, I know we kind of touched on it, adequate calories. So at least meeting up to or around your needs on a daily basis. And then, some kind of protein, We're gonna want some carbs throughout the day, whole grains, fats, some healthy fats mixed in there, vitamins, minerals. I'm not sure where you want to go with what's essential or non-essential.
Yeah, so can I run
Yeah.
off that? So like I kind of go in that exact like the essentialness, I kind of just go down the list that way, like almost like a checklist. Like, are you meeting the calories? And once they like, okay, they got that under control, then I kind of teach them. I guess I teach them because it's a school, so I teach them on the date that I'm supposed to teach.
Right.
But like I basically then go like, okay, next thing for because I'm dealing with athletes, it's usually protein intake, and then immediately after that, if that because that I feel like is kind of the easiest one to click. It's just like you just got to hit this number. It's easy to track.
Yeah.
The next one is like ensuring that the carbs that they're getting carbs. I'm dealing with that with a young man right now that is really obsessed. He's got a weight loss target and he's been doing it for quite some time. He was a bigger boy. He's now not as big of a boy, but he keeps cheating on carbs. He's going super low carbs because he loves the way that affects the scale. But he's a large boy that pushes. He goes 100%, and he just can't keep figuring out why he's like being super moody and emotional. And it's like, son, you're out of like you don't have carbohydrates. You work out so much that there's probably no glycogen storage. It never even makes it to that point. So you're just running off whatever's in the bloodstream, and we work out too long. Like we're at the high school for 2.5 hours. You need to bring a snack. So when you come off the field, snack up something, even an orange juice or whatever. So we're at that phase. And then most of the time I don't even get into fat because they've covered that between the two. If their calories are good and their protein, and none of my kids are smart enough that they're just going to like, oh, I'm specifically getting out of fat. And then really with the micronutrients, I've not really got into that. Like, I guess the next thing I would go into for my kids would be supplementation.
Yeah.
I've not, at least at the high school level, dove much into, which might be, I'm not saying that that's good. Like somebody might be like, you've never talked to the kids about niacin, but
Well, I mean, I think you have a lot of good points there. So you're kind of talking about almost about like, once I'm meeting with somebody, kind of what's that hierarchy there. I think with youth athletes, I tend to gravitate away from like calorie talk and protein talk, and more so just like dietary patterns, right? I think it's a little easier, at least first, right? If they get into, they're locked in on their dietary pattern. And what I mean by that is like, hey, are you eating breakfast, right? Especially for students, like, are you eating breakfast? What does that look like? Let's get some protein in there. Let's get a carbohydrate. I would like for you to have some color at most meals, right? Fruit or vegetable. And most of the time, fat is going to take care of itself. So it's really like, the protein and carb, and that's for most meals. So yeah, are you eating breakfast? Depending on when their lunch is, I know schools are, at least here in the Midwest, are crazy. Sometimes they'll eat lunch at like 10 or 10:30.
10 to 1.
Yeah, it's like 10 is breakfast still. But anyways, if you're going till 1, maybe you have a snack before lunch. What does your lunch look like? Let's get that protein, the carb choice, right? Again, some kind of fruits and vegetables in there. Setting them up for success pre-practice. So if their practice is, after school, say like a 3 or 4 o'clock, you're going to need some carbohydrates before you get on the field. So that, and then obviously dinner, hopefully post practice and slash dinner, we'll look at that too. But typically, with youth athletes, I'm looking at dietary pattern. And if they start to lock that stuff in, and they're comfortable doing it, we can start doing calories, protein, carbs, fats, fiber intake, stuff like that. But that's typically with those like 17, 18-year-old athletes that maybe have some aspirations for college.
Right.
How do you deal with like I really like that's your approach, right? Because there's definitely an issue with disordered eating, like we have access to so much food and everything tastes so good, and like people can get upside down real fast in terms of like their relationship with food. So when you run into a youth athlete or any athlete, I guess, who is like, I hate myself when I eat, or like they have some kind of version of some disordered eating, what's your kind of like first step in like unpacking that conversation with them?
Yeah. Hopefully well, not hopefully, but I don't work with a lot of eating disorders.
Hmm.
Disordered eating definitely appears frequently with athletes. And again, I think that's because of that injection from the diet culture
Hmm.
where people are supposed to look certain ways or eat in certain ways. But I typically just try to find some positive threads in food, right? Maybe I frame it as food is fuel, right? If you're trying to perform your best, we need to fuel up. That's typically how I'll gravitate the conversation. And for those athletes especially, um, probably would not want to get into the weeds with the calories and the protein and stuff like that because they can kind of get in their head
Get
with that
obsessive
kind of
about
stuff.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Do you give like it's been a little while, so and it's funny. So I graduated, I guess it's 11 years, 2014, summer 2014. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that I learned even in that 11 years, like I've now heard differently, which is okay, but it's a little frustrating, you know what I mean? Like that sucks. Uh but do you get into it all like trying to show the people, whoever the client's old or young, like uh healthier options of like good snacks? Because like, and I've gotten away from it. I should get back to it, but like stuff like kale chips are the shit. Like they're delicious. You know what I mean? And they really do like if you just sure, opening a bag of potato chips, it's already there.
Hmm.
Making a kale chip is like water, chop, salt, 12 seconds in a
Hmm.
broiler. That's not that much work. But even me, who knows, I know more than an average person, that is already a barrier. Or like a black bean brownie. Those things are delicious and it's
Hmm.
all protein. But like, do you have any like good, I don't even know, cheat meals, snacks, good snacks or anything that you're like, oh yeah, I could fix that?
Well,
Because that's what a lot of it is like it's either the sweet tooth or the salt that somebody gets really maybe not disordered, but
Hmm.
like energy drink or something, right? Like that we get stuck on.
yeah, I think the barriers was a good one of those key terms that you kind of threw out there. What are they actually willing to do, right? So when I'm looking at somebody's dietary pattern or their recall, maybe we have a 3-day food journal, or maybe we're tracking. Maybe this isn't a high school athlete. Maybe this is somebody that's 20 whatever years old and maybe like an advanced recreational athlete or something like that. It's really making small swaps so that it doesn't feel like a wholesale change, right? And typically I try to work with additions rather than subtractions. So if I tell somebody, hey, let's not eat those potato chips, what's the one thing that they're going to want the rest of the week?
Potato chips.
They're
Yeah.
going to want potato chips. So especially because I feel like it's a vacuum, right? So you pull potato chips out of that dietary pattern, what get put in.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's those kale chips. That'd be awesome.
Right.
But if there's a barrier for them making those kale chips, then it might just be, I don't know, some other kind of snack that is not driving them towards their goals.
And yeah, making sure you're replacing with something that's makes sense. Like taking out the potato chips and putting in yogurt is not like that's not gonna. I'm trying to think of the word, but it's not gonna fix that part of the brain. Like you know what I mean? You're just gonna eat yogurt and be like, dude, I want something crispy and salty.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and
No,
actually,
all I did was
yeah,
eat
that's
more
a good
yogurt.
point. I mean, sometimes it's like, you know what? Just eat the individual bag of potato chips, right? Because
Sure,
like
right.
if you're gonna be like, all right, I'm taking away the potato chips, I'm gonna have yogurt with honey and some berries on top. They eat that, right? Maybe it's 150 calories or whatever that comes out to be, and they're like, yeah, no, I still want the potato chips, and then they go eat the potato chips. Well, now
Yeah,
we're
just add
over.
it.
We just added, right? We added calories to the day. Probably should have, I don't want to say given in to the craving, but at the end of the day, especially with athletes and stuff like that, they got some room in the diet to have a bag of potato chips or whatever they're craving.
Yeah, I like that advice. So like buy in the individual size,
Hmm.
because then there's the barrier. You got to open another one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and you might spiral, and that could be bad. But that's sometimes like I know one piece of advice that I really liked was like, let's say you're a soda drinker, just don't buy cases of soda. Leave it at the store. And if you really want one and you're willing to put your shoes on, start your car, even if you live close, drive to the store and get a soda, that's fine. Then you really wanted that soda. But a lot of times where you would walk to the fridge, you wouldn't have gone to the store. So like that is a really also really good way to get off some of those less, popular habits. That was
Yeah.
one thing that also kind of soured me was my not the official dietetic internship, but my senior year I did an internship at a hospital, and it really was. I wish I would have done some sports stuff. I think I would have liked it better. But being the guy that goes in with the RD, and it's a person that just had a heart attack, and we're telling them like you're not drinking your cokes anymore, you're not having steak, right? Like that's
Right.
I felt like that was every day, and it was everybody hated us. Like no one wanted to see the RDs come in. I was like, this is a terrible job here, like
Yeah.
because no one wants to hear that. But then really, we shouldn't have been saying that. We should have been saying, okay, how much steak do you eat?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot. Let's only have steak for dinner, not lunch and breakfast.
Yeah.
Let's not have a 12-pack of soda. You know what I mean?
Yeah, in those settings, you're kind of entering the room, and you got about 5 minutes with them,
Yeah.
unfortunately. So when you enter that room at the hospital or some kind of more intensive facility, you got 5 minutes with them, and this is why doctors get a bad rap too with their nutrition advice, which most of the time it's not great nutrition advice, but they're seeing a patient for 5 minutes, and they just have to essentially spew kind of those RDAs, or like, hey, don't eat red meat, or no more potato chips for you.
Right.
And that's kind of where, like, I work in the private practice field, where it's like we have like an hour. Their initial is like an hour and 15
Right.
or an hour and 30 minutes, when I can just sit down and then we can just chat, right? And sometimes it goes off on tangents, and it's not even about nutrition, but like I can figure out kind of what you're saying. Like, okay, how many steaks a week do you have? Because like maybe he reported on his intake, oh, I eat steak every day, but when you talk to him, he's like, I can only really have it once a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, okay, not really an issue then. I don't need to, drive that down your throat.
Yeah. And I also feel like people that are coming to see you, they correct me if I'm wrong, like they are seeking you out, right?
Correct. Yep.
Like, and that one is like this is a person that's had probably the worst day of their life.
Right.
And then somebody just came in and was like, you also don't get to go home and have the things you love.
Yeah. Bingo.
So like that's a terrible time to even give that advice. It
Yeah.
really is. It's the worst time. They just almost died.
Right.
Whereas like those guys are at least taking a step. So you probably could get a really good food diary out of those guys, like 3-7 days, whatever. Like I would imagine it's a little easier than if I just went into a room and asked them like, so what do you eat? They might just say like, I eat steak.
Right.
It's like, well, they didn't mean that. Like
Yeah, exactly. That's when you just hand them the handout at the hospital. You hand them the
slide
handout,
it under
and
the
then you
door.
get out the door. Yeah. You're like, hey, read this if you want to, or not, and then you leave.
You already hear it crumbling.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I like that's all, good advice. Food is fuel. I like the no judgment kind of talk around food. Like a lot of times we get into, what are good and bad foods
Oh,
and
do you
stuff,
wanna-
That's the quote I wrote on the board today was no good food, no bad food.
He wrote it because he said it, and then I immediately was like,
He was going to argue with me that there
we're
was bad food.
immediately was like, we're talking
The,
about
the
this.
bad food is the food that you are allergic to or has spoiled. That's what I'll say.
That's what, yeah, that's what we came down to. Is like, it's not necessary. It is not bad. Like, okay, again, this is, July 16th, 2025. If something becomes cancerous
Uh-huh.
in the next 4 weeks, I'm not talking about that one, right? Like, but like, it's okay to have a soda.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? It's okay to have cookies. It's not okay to have a pack of cookies.
every day.
Yeah, it's not okay to have a case of soda.
You have disordered eating.
You know what I mean?
It's not
Like
the soda that's bad. It's the
you
disordered
can
eating
you
we gotta
can
work
do
on.
that off generally healthy foods
Mhm.
and screw yourself up.
I've done it.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think there's this movement right now, like all foods fit, which I totally agree, but depending on your goals, they might not align with your goals, right? So if you're somebody, I get lots of weight loss patients coming in, and they're snacking on peanut butter, or they're keeping their favorite snack foods in the house. It's not that those foods can't fit; they're just going to be a little bit harder to fit in your
Right.
diet, especially if it's those foods that we're commonly thinking of, like the packaged foods, or like the more processed foods. So maybe, yes, I'm gonna say all foods do fit, but maybe for a period of time, you don't keep it in the house or you don't buy them. Um, so I had to have that conversation with people a lot. They're like, "Oh, I thought all foods fit." It's like they do fit. But every time you open that pantry, you're gonna have a mental battle with yourself, especially the peanut butter that's
Uh-huh.
shelf stable that's just sitting there for months on end. You're gonna have to every single time you open that pantry, you're gonna have a battle, a mental
Yeah.
battle every single time.
Yeah, and if you eat 2 small spoonfuls of peanut butter, it's like 15,000 calories, like it's
Yeah.
a huge, like
Yeah, one of my favorite snacks. I don't know if you guys have this snack in your house. It's called peanut butter spoon.
yeah.
My whole family does it. Like that's my just yesterday. I went into the pantry, and my son's a freshman, and are going into freshman year, and I get the peanut butter out. He's like, "You doing peanut butter spoon?" I was like, "Yep." He's like, "I'm gonna get one." And then my wife comes out. She's like, "You guys doing peanut butter spoon?" Hell yeah, dude. The whole family just one spoonful of peanut butter.
Yeah.
I don't have 17 peanut butter spoons a day.
Yeah.
And another thing is like all foods fit, and I don't know exactly the level you do, but one thing I realize is like not every RD is like super dove in. An RD kind of has to be a generalist. Like you got to learn a lot about, but there are some that get into like specific either diseases or specific chemicals in the food. Like I'm also not sticking up for like there are some things in our food that are really fucked up.
Mm-hmm.
So if somebody's watching that and they say all foods fit, goddamn RB47 just killed 700 people last week. All right, like that. I don't know that we're talking about that, right?
Right.
There are chemicals, there are bad humans on the planet. Like not everybody's looking out for your best health. Generally, we're saying that all foods fit. I feel like I got it for the 4 people watching. Like we're gonna have somebody walk away. We can't afford to lose people at this point. But
Yeah, you don't want the RB40 gang coming at you.
Okay, so going back, we have that talk about like food patterns, and then we get into calories. When we talk about like the macros, the fat, protein, carbohydrates, is there a lot of space in your heart for like really specific approaches, like either like low carb or low fat or carnivore or vegan? Like are those tools that often come out of the toolbox, or are they like super case dependent before they're going to be part of the conversation?
Yeah, I mean, I'm never ever pushing some kind of like packaged diet, right? Like the carnivore, vegan, vegetarian, intermittent fasting. Trying to think of the other ones: low carb, low fat, keto, whatever. I have never pushed any of those. Sometimes I'll have patients come in and they're like, "I'm hardcore intermittent fasting, but I would like to work with you." It's like, I think once we work together for a few months, you'll probably start to not intermittent fast because you'll figure out that it's more of a hindrance than benefiting you. But that's just kind of one of those, case by case basis where I don't want them coming in and I'm immediately like, yeah, intermittent fasting's stupid, because they're immediately not going to talk to me. You know
right,
what I mean?
yeah.
Like they're already shut down because for some reason diet culture is kind of culty.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're attacking somebody's,
Very personal.
right, it's like it almost is an attack on them when I'm not, right? If I'm saying intermittent fasting stupid, it's just because I think that pattern is not the best for the majority of people. I'm not saying you're a terrible human. So yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna cut out the part where you said you're a terrible human, and we're gonna make a reel out of it.
you are a terrible human.
You are.
Yeah, and just like you guys were saying, like some of those things might be really good to hit a goal. Like if you're specifically doing something, or if you have food restrictions or something,
Yeah.
that's a conversation you would have to have. But again, like for general life health, like a mild, non-aggressive, just carnivore diet, that might really work for you and you might love it. But for most people, I feel like it's not going to be something that is super maintainable.
Well, it's funny to talk about it because like I've done like lower carb diets, mostly because of the migraines. Low carbs are handy for managing that, but it's also easier for me to comply with. And I've also done intermittent fasting because it's easy for me to comply with. Like if it's like just don't eat till lunch, I'm like, no problem. I can do that.
I accidentally
Right.
do that.
Right. Yeah.
All the time.
So then, like, if I go meet somebody else and they're like, I want you to do something different, and I'm like, but these ones are the easy button for me.
Right.
They're the smooth things. Then it's already a part of your identity, right?
Are you able to adhere to that long term?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
a bad case.
I'm not a bad case.
This is a
And
bad
like
person
the
to
thing
talk
is,
to.
like, intermittent fasting will not put me in a deficit, and neither will low carb, right? So like if I want to do it for losing weight, I still need to think about like the calorie density and stuff, because my ass will eat 4,000
6
calories.
hours is plenty of time.
Yeah. I'll eat 3,000 calories in a meal and then do it again 3 hours later. Like the fact that I can eat a lot is a problem,
I actually had this patient, and she was struggling to get up to her energy needs, her calories, and she one day was like, "Hey, I want to try intermittent fasting," and I'm like, I was trying to educate her. You struggle to get up to your calories, so why would cutting out, a portion of your day or only having a specific feeding window, why would that help you? And she's like, I don't know. I just saw something on the internet about it. And I could already tell she was fully bought into this intermittent fasting thing.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, okay, fine. We worked with it for like 6-8 weeks. What had actually happened was her appetite had increased because of her fasting, which,
Yeah.
right? So she was able to actually eat more in that feeding window. I think it was like an 8-hour feeding window. Than she was able to with just a traditional, eat whenever you
Right.
wanted to. So that was like a case where I was like, you know what? This is why you need to listen to the patient, and if they're really bought into something, just let them try it, right? Because I would have never thought intermittent fasting would have helped somebody get up to a certain energy target, but in her case, it did.
Yeah. And like I was thinking about it, like in terms of my compliance, like it's pretty easy for me to comply with the intermittent fasting. It's harder to comply with the low carb. Like that is actually a harder thing to comply with. And what ends up happening is I just go through phases where I have more headaches and less headaches, like, and so that's, kind of the life I live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And anytime, like, so I just went on a pretty hefty diet to start the school year. I'd say I lost 30 and then gained back probably 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I lost 21 total. But my big thing was just allowing myself to have something, like not going like full elimination diet, because I knew I could make that. I'll make it 6 days and lose a little bit,
and then eat 2 cheesecakes,
and then I'll be done, and I'll be up 5. Right, I'll overcorrect, and I will have been heavier. But I just allowed myself, for whatever reason, I just, like, the first thing that I wanted that was bad was a cheese quesadilla, and I was like, all right, that's fine. I'm just gonna work that in to what I'm doing, and I'll have a cheese quesadilla every once in a while. And then I had air popcorn at night, which probably it has too much butter. I love butter on my air popcorn, but it's like, all right, if those are the only 2 vices, I can outwork that. I can work around that. It's going to take a little bit longer, but you just got to be patient.
Mm-hmm.
First off, if anybody's telling you that you're going to lose a bunch of weight right away, like, that should be a red flag. Like, there's something you might, like, if you just got done crushing like the worst diet and you weigh in that night, and then the next day or by the day after you weigh in, like, you probably are going to lose quite a bit, especially if you have some to lose. But it's not, if somebody's telling you you're losing 7 pounds a week, like, you run.
It is important for at least adherence to like some kind of plan to have the patient or the client see immediate results. Unfortunately, they do like to see, in the first month we lost, 4 pounds or whatever.
Right.
It might be different for everybody.
Who doesn't, right? That's
because then it allows buy-in for the rest of the months, right? If you're really, just struggling, and you go 1-2 months and it's 0 pounds we're just talking for weight loss patients, right? It's 0 pounds they've lost, and you're like, no, keep at it, keep going. It's like, bro, it's been 60 days and I haven't lost a single pound. I'm not going to keep going.
I haven't had any fun. A lot of times I'll tell people, like, just unless you're doing a weightlifting event, like, or a weight specific, if you are a wrestler or
weight class sport,
there we go, that's the word. Weight class sport. Who the hell cares?
Yeah.
Just put the scale away and then look at your body.
Yeah.
And then whenever you wind up being like, I like that, sweet.
Yeah.
That might be at 160, that might be at 180, or it might be at 230. Who the hell knows what it is? wherever you like it, that's where you should be. Because some people get focused on like I'm going to be 125.
Yeah, we've heard the advice before, right? Like, if you got on the scale tomorrow morning and it said the number you wanted, but you looked exactly the same, would you be happy?
Right.
Right.
And the answer is usually no. Because
Yeah, that's usually a conversation I have to have with people. They'll be like, "I want to be what I weighed when I was in high school."
in high school, yeah,
Right?
who the hell
What
cares?
is that? Yeah, it's usually females. It's usually females that are like, "Oh, I want to be 130." It's like, man, that's again, you don't want to fully shoot them down, but you got to gently have that conversation with like, you are a completely different human being at this point, right? You've lived however many decades since high school. I'm not saying that you can't improve lower your weight and you can't improve your body composition, but usually it comes down to people want to look a certain way, and that's usually their body composition,
Mhm.
which is also super beneficial to track.
Yeah, and again, not that some women can't be the same weight that they were in high school,
Right.
but like your body does go through some physiological changes in and around childbirth.
Mhm.
Like it might not be the same, so don't get totally wrapped up. But I'm not winning that battle. That would be like me being like, you're never gonna look in the mirror and flex again.
Okay, so if
I'm
you were
flexing
to,
right now.
if I'm flexing right now, um, camera puts on 20 pounds and it's gonna be all muscle, baby.
Yeah, this is the best
Um,
camera anybody's ever had.
So if you're like working with somebody and they either want to gain weight or lose weight, so we can go both sides of the spectrum if we're talking about, body composition changes. Like what would you consider like rapid but sustainable weight loss? Like what are the degrees of success and what do they actually look like? Because you do see the 10 pounds in 2 weeks or whatever. And maybe we could have a conversation later about what would cause rapid changes and why it's not really what you want. But like, what are the kind of guidelines that you look for if somebody's like they're in a hurry or they got time? Like what are those numbers that you're looking for as goalposts?
Yeah, I mean, it'll depend. Like you guys said, you guys were talking about weight class sports, right? So I've had people come to me with 2 months. And they're like, "Hey, I need to lose 5 kilos of body weight," and it's like, "Oh man, we only have 2 months to do this." But I mean, generally, right, with weight loss, and this is going to be super dependent upon how large this individual is, right? So if somebody's coming to me and they're 300 pounds, we could see 5, 6, 7 pounds a month by just making some changes. But if they're coming to me and they're relatively lean, like their body composition is okay, right? Like a man's like, I don't know, 20% body fat or something, it's gonna be maybe like a pound a week or even less. I like to see slow weight loss, at least after that like 1-2 month period where I'm trying to like create some buy-in. Um, and then with the weight gain, I like to see even slower weight gain. Because super fast weight gain, we know that's just going to be like some fluid shifts or not the kind of mass that you're wanting.
Coach, I put on 4 pounds of muscle this weekend.
Yeah.
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 You're not gonna walk us through how the dreamer bulk is the best thing that a person can do for their health and long-term athletic success?
The gallon of milk a day.
Go mad.
Yeah, go mad.
Yeah. I mean, I'd probably drink a gallon of milk a day, but that's just for funsies, you know?
I'm lactose intolerant. I don't even know what would happen. I might just shoot into the freaking sky.
Well, you could get some lactose-free milk. You could sip on that Fairlife.
Yeah.
Communist.
Yeah. So when people see, so like a lot of times we'll see those infomercials or whatever that they are 10 pounds in 2 weeks or something crazy like that. And sometimes like I've gone on, had big dietary changes and lost a bunch of weight in a really short period of time. What's actually happening like inside our bodies when we have those big, like, if it's just all of a sudden you lose 5 or 8 pounds or something, it's probably not all body fat unless you just haven't eaten at all, right? So what are the things that you actually change, or what are the changes that happen where you actually are losing that weight? What does it look like?
So those will mainly be those fluid shifts, right? So if you've kind of cleaned up your diet, well, you're probably eating less sodium. Carbohydrates also have water attached, right? So I don't know what the exact ratio is, but it's like every gram of carbohydrate comes along like 3 or 4 grams of water. So like with weight class sports, that's an easy way, doing a water cut. We're gonna fluctuate their sodium intake, their hydration, their fluids, and then also their carbohydrates, because all three of those things create big weight changes really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, because those are usually the things, right? Is if your salt causes water retention, carbohydrates cause water retention. If you're taking creatine, water retention, right? And so like if you cut all those things, then you can lose a pretty startling amount of weight in a short period of time.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and if you've never eaten any fruit and you just all of a sudden pound 2 bags of cherries or something, you might lose some other weight, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, clean yourself out a tiny bit.
Yeah.
I mean, so this is something that I'm not real versed in, so this might be the worst question in history. We might just all look at each other. But one thing I have picked up from hearing wrestling coaches talk to their wrestlers is that, like, don't have red meat around the weigh-ins, because the red meat is going to, like, it takes more water to digest, so the water will stay around. So, like, they're telling, like, don't be eating red meat 2 days before a meet, right? Anything you guys ever heard about that?
I mean, red meat has more creatine in it than
Like, I don't know enough. This might just be that none of us
Yeah.
know enough to comment on it, which is perfectly fine. But it's something that
I would
you know,
think, yeah. I mean, maybe it takes a little bit more to digest. I don't know the actual specifics on that. Maybe it's what's typically eaten with red meat. I don't know. Because like a lot of times when you look at these studies that are demonizing red meat, they don't do a great job of like what does red meat mean? And when you're looking at the research, red meat is hamburgers, red meat's lasagna, red meat is, all of these things that when I hear red meat, and this is why it's important to, define terms.
Right.
Because when I think of red meat, I think steak, right?
Yeah.
That's the first thing that comes to my mind.
I picture a steak on a plate.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And maybe you salt the steak too much. Maybe that's typically what's going on, and that's causing some water to stick around, as you said. But I don't know anything other than that.
Yeah, I mean, I would have a hard time. Again, red meat has more creatine than
It's just that
so like
it's just the weird
but-
things you hear, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm like, and then they'll look at me and they'll be like, Monroe? Okay. That's a really random thing. That's very specific, man. Like, I haven't been to college in 11 years.
And I would be really interested to see like what could the possible differential of the scale be? Like how much more like if you ate, let's say that it's 2 days before the meet and you are trying really hard, you're really close, and you're basically just going to do a water cut and like eat minimal calories coming up to the thing. And so 2 days before you eat like a big piece of red meat, a pound of red meat.
Right.
Or you eat a pound of chicken. Like I have a hard time thinking that it could be more than like a couple grams of difference in terms of how your body would react in terms of water retention. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. Where's it getting the water? It's like pulling the water out of the cells so you can't sweat it away or something. Cleaning them cells.
This is when outcomes are more important than pathways. So what is the actual outcome? Because especially on social media right now, we're seeing demonization of, I don't know, certain things, right? You talked about some food additives or this or that, where those people are getting super into the weeds with some specific metabolic pathway, right? But what's the actual outcome of that? Like you're talking about chicken versus steak, 1 pound of each throughout the week. The metabolic, if we're getting really into the weeds physiologically, like some kind of pathway, maybe the red meat takes a little bit longer to digest than the chicken. But what's the actual outcome? Like you're saying, a couple grams,
Right.
that's fine. You know what I mean? Like we're not worrying about that.
I think that's one of the hardest parts of diet is that there's almost no other thing that everybody you talk to has been eating their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
So they're in some way an expert because they have eaten. So they're gonna have their own, all their own ideas, and they, you know what I mean? Like there's nothing else. Like if you have a client, maybe they've lifted for a couple of years, they haven't been in the weight room for 37 years.
I'm just ranking best cookies when you say they have some knowledge about nutrition.
Right.
I'm
like you can't do, like if you go to college for physics, I highly doubt the kids coming in ranking their favorite physicists.
Yeah.
I don't know about that calculus research. I preferred my Newtonian calculus. Right? Like, that shit don't happen. That's really easy. It's not easy to teach, but it's easy because that's it. Diet is so goddamn diverse. Like, everybody feels right and everybody is wrong at some point in time.
Yeah. Everybody definitely comes in with their own belief system. I definitely hear you on that.
Have you has like the research on gut health made its way into into the world of dietetics? Like, it's something I've been kind of like following loosely, for the last 10 years or whatever, since it seems like it's been blowing up. But it's been really interesting to see like the large scale like population studies. They'll be like, oh, we think that this bacteria is good and this one's bad or whatever. And then they'll have some other population that's super healthy where that bad bacteria is like the primary, thing that shows up because they have a different kind of diet. And, it seems to be very responsive to the food that we eat and stuff. And so I just don't know, is that anything that we have like real actionable stuff to do about yet, or is it still new enough in the research that we're just learning?
Yeah, actionable things. Yeah, so the gut is super hard to map out. So there's some tests. I don't think there's any that are like truly validated. Don't come at me if there's like, because I know there's RDs that specifically work with just gut health. So don't come at me, right? I don't think I've seen any validated tests. Actionable things that affect gut health. Stress management is a huge one. So having some way of managing your stress levels. Exercise has been shown to be beneficial. And then fiber intake. Some people respond really well to low fiber intake, and some people respond very well to high fiber intake. And those are the kind of those three actionable steps. Oh, and like smaller meals. People respond really well with smaller meals. So those are like the four things that if somebody comes to me, I'll start working on those things. And then we'll kind of monitor their stool. I mean, I don't get pictures of it, but like they'll monitor their stool, right? Kind of give me a kind of like a food log, right? They're like, hey, this week it was pretty runny, or hey, we're getting solid.
Food log is a funny term to use when you're talking about food logs.
Absolutely, that is. I never thought about that.
Your food log.
Yes. So those are kind of those four things that we'll start. Those four variables that I'll start to play with.
So you don't recommend, like, I feel like I heard a story. There was like a young lady who was eating capsules of her brother's poop because he had good gut bacteria. So she was ingesting his stool to get that bacteria. And then they were like, and then she developed acne just like him. I was like, what the hell's going on? Why are we even talking about the acne? Quit eating your brother's poop.
So
now we're going to find out that this is actually a useful intervention. I'm ready. Go.
So there are instances like after surgery and after like big major surgery and antibiotics that you might have like completely eviscerated the entire colony, like all of your that gut microbiome. And
too much tequila.
and many times they'll use people that you're living with. So the people that you live with, you typically have a more similar gut microbiome too, and that's because you're touching things, they're touching the same things, you're
eating a similar diet.
You're in the same restroom as that person. But I would not ever recommend that to somebody. I've never had to recommend something like that. So I'm thankful for that.
So science says probably works. Society says don't eat your brother's poop. If a doctor tells you to do it, okay.
Yeah. Wait for that prescription.
Yeah, don't make your own capsules. I feel like they were making their own capsules. They were like collecting the poop, then like stirring it, capsulating it, and eating.
These people? Are these people you know?
No. This is just these are internet humans.
Yeah.
I bet they were just trying to get other people to do it and just be like, you did that?
That's
crazy.
That's a funny thing to do.
Yeah, that's why it all looked like chocolate pudding.
Yeah, I looked at their faces. They were eating each other's poop. They looked like classic poop eaters.
Okay, so you said something in there that was interesting to me, was that some people respond well to low fiber diets and some people respond well to high fiber diets.
I also liked that.
I like that. Because that's another one of those like diet culture things, right? It's just eat a lot of fiber, right? And so how do people tell if they're a low fiber or a high fiber person?
So I was talking specifically with like GI health patients,
Hmm.
right?
Okay.
People that are coming in, they might have IBS, right? Irritable bowel
Right.
syndrome, Crohn's, stuff like that is what I'm talking about. Generally speaking, people need to be eating a good amount of fiber.
Okay.
So I typically recommend at least 15 grams per 1,000 calories consumed. So if
Ooh.
it's a 2,000 calorie diet, we're looking at 30 grams of fiber, right? If it's you can just scale it from there. So about
You got
10
any
to 15 grams per 1,000 calories.
you got any quick good recommendations? Because that was when I was doing the diet was good, but I had noticed that with the foods that I eliminated, something was going on. Yeah, I couldn't even donate to my sister if she wanted to eat the poop.
Well,
Okay.
typically when
There
people,
was no food log.
yeah, when people are starting to restrict items in their diet, they're typically restricting carbohydrate options, right? Typically, once you see the carbohydrates fall down, fiber also starts to fall down, because it's just those kind of products, right? Bread products, grain products, oats, stuff like that. So options that I'm always recommending to people, obviously like the whole grain stuff, brown rice if you can do it. But avocados, bananas, like fruits, vegetables, like fill up on fruits, vegetables. And then the other thing that I use almost with people as like a supplement are those keto breads or the keto tortillas. I don't know if you guys have seen those. There are I think Mission sells them. The tortillas is like the burrito size. Each one of those suckers has like 15 grams of fiber in it,
That's what
and they taste.
that's what I had bought.
Yep, and they taste pretty good. They have breads too. Aunt Millie's has breads and buns and all kinds of different baked goods that have some additional fiber in it. So I'll use those almost as like a supplement with people
Yeah,
because people
I,
are terrible with getting fiber.
yeah. I overcorrected. Just if you guys were wondering.
You ate too much fiber.
Yeah, I became a high fiber human, because was doing the tortilla, and then
Uh,
I made like a garbanzo bean, black bean, kind of like tuna salad, but with beans,
Yeah.
which was very tasty. But that's a
it was a lot of fiber.
Thankfully, I don't think that I don't think that there's an upper limit for fiber. It's just going to be kind of what your gut will be able to handle, right? So, like, when I'm making this recommendation, 10 to 15 grams per 1,000 calories, that's not really that much, right? Like 2,000 calories, 30 grams, 3,000 calories. It's not that much. But once you start getting like 80 grams, 100 grams of fiber, I've never seen anybody eating that much fiber. I would just think that your stomach would start to hurt, and you're gonna naturally kind of pull back on the fiber, anyways.
Yeah. I don't know that I've ever been that into high fiber diets to get to where I had to worry about it.
Yeah. I feel like I play my fiber by ear, which is probably not great. You know what I mean? Like I'm sure I fall into the classic. I eat too little fiber, and I'm gonna have some sort of problem. I don't know why you're laughing because I'm playing it by ear or something.
Well, it's just the connections you make. Like we're on the show, and I want to be sure I have something fun to say, right? And so, like we said, play it by ear. I just thought about you eating like the whole ear of corn, so you
Oh,
could
yeah,
have the
yeah.
cob too. Like get that fiber up, and then that was a funny
Yeah,
visual
it's
in my
going
brain.
through.
Yeah.
And it's the right shape. Just go right through the system.
Has a hard time with the corners.
Sorry, Michael. Michael's after there's going to be like, oh, we need to exit out all
Yeah,
that.
this stuff gets edited out, right? I mean,
Of course.
Oh,
Yes.
don't.
This is a heavily edited show.
Yeah.
As in, we chop the first couple seconds and then the last couple seconds, and then
Yeah.
the
Everything in
goes,
between
so.
stays. Okay. I feel like we've been so erratic. Like I haven't had any kind of like through.
Real.
Yeah.
That's probably my fault.
There's been very little thread in this episode.
Yeah, it's my bad. That's my bad. I was excited. I've been excited to get an RD on for a very long time.
So we're just throwing everything.
Yeah.
What we need to do is just plan on having you back on for a conversation where we're not so excited. We're too excited right now. You know what I mean? Like I want to ask you about astronaut food. I want to ask you about food myths. I want to ask you about like all the things, and there's just not. I'm all over the place.
Do you have, which you might not, a favorite, I guess it would be least favorite.
Least-
Like food, a diet or a food myth, like where you just like despise it more
Oh,
than you.
I mean, for a while, and it's probably just what I was getting fed on my Instagram, right? Because you interact with things and that feeds you more, or you know,
Mhm.
or were the carnivore people. They were
Yeah.
so culty. Oh my gosh! And I was watching them eat like sticks of butter, like, oh, this is. And then what
Yeah.
would infuriate me is like, this is what I make my kids eat, and it was like, just steak and butter, and you're like, oh my gosh. And because I probably watched it, I kept getting fed. So for a really long time,
Yeah,
I was
It
like,
really thought you were into it.
yeah, I really thought I was in the carnivore diet.
Yeah, there's a family friend, I won't say more, but like got into that, and she like commented, she's like, I'm having, if you're grossed out by poop stuff and you're still here, I don't know why, but I just mimed a corn cob shooting through your digestive system. But it's probably too late for the warning. But she was like, I have the oiliest stools. I was like, yeah, no shit. Like you're only eating meat and fat.
Yeah.
Like
You can't produce enough bile to
like,
digest all.
just like that stick of butter's just going through.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, there's
so
nothing to like create some bulk there. What I've seen with the carnivore space though is really interesting where we're only butter, only steak, stuff like that. And then people are starting to see that like, hey, my labs aren't looking too good, or my stool is just liquid, or XYZ, whatever problem they were having with the carnivore diet. And they've started to, implement some honey, implement some fruit, implement some
Yeah.
vegetables. And you're looking at them and you're like, this is just a well-rounded diet at this point.
Yeah.
yeah, right, yeah,
Because you eliminated everything, right? And you just kept steak and butter and, eggs, whatever else these carnivore people are eating. And then now they've slowly started adding some really healthful foods.
Yeah, it's always funny how it's almost always like I've made the joke a bunch of times that it feels like everything just eventually drifts to like paleo, where it's like whatever it is that you're gonna do, like I'm only gonna eat meat. And it's like, well, berries are good. We can have berries too. Like, and maybe some tubers every once in a while. I'm like, you're basically just eating what we've been eating for the last 300,000 years. Like that's the diet. That is what we eat.
Right, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. And then on
Yeah.
occasion, I guess it's my son's birthday, so I'll have a piece of cake. And, it's
Uh-huh.
like, okay, now
Yeah.
we're just getting to a really good diet, actually, that allows you to have some social connection as well.
Yeah, and every once in a while, I'll have a beer, which was made by a man who consists of red meat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's on point.
Yeah, it's just beer and red meat.
Oh man, I just lost my question.
My bad.
Oh, is there, okay, so this is probably an insane question to ask a registered dietitian, but do you think that the carnivore diet can be done healthily? Like if you eat the organ meats and the fish eggs and the whole 9 yards, like if you really go out,
You could tweak every knob.
yeah, if you can go try to find those nutrients that you need from animal products, do you think it's something that people could actually manage?
Do I think it's something that somebody can actually manage? I don't think so. But if we're talking a hypothetical, right? Like this person essentially is able to, they're adherent to literally everything. I don't know. I guess. People do it, right? People do it. I'm not really sure all what the carnivore diet fully entails. I think that you would have to have some kind of supplementation though at the end of the day. But is that carnivore? I don't know. Are you allowed to supplement?
Right. Yeah, it's an interesting thing to me because like I've known people who lived off of red wine, potato chips, and cigarettes. And so I'm like, carnivore diet might be better for you than what you're doing right there,
They live to like 100 or something.
Yeah.
My great grandma May was like 97,
Yeah.
and her people would sneak freaking alcohol to her in the nursing home.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that, maybe is an important part of the conversation around like dietary approaches that people choose is the fact that your body is actively seeking homeostasis, right? So like it's doing work behind the scenes to make up for, what you're putting in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely able to make up for some of your shortcomings for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not possible, but I think that what really for like an individual, you would almost have to like be taking like constant blood and like samples as we ate for like months, messed with individual foods, and like seeing what worked for individual people, because that's really probably the answer is like, oh,
It's got to be a metabolic ward. You got to control
that
what they eat and
is
everything.
that is going to kill you. Look what just happened when you ate that potato chip, and then you're like, potato chips do nothing. Your body can just,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
Hey, I guess that's a fun thing. Like in this space, I see all the time people will publish like on Instagram, right? You're scrolling Instagram. They'll publish a study and they'll be like, look at what this study says about eggs or whatever. And then you get into the meat of the study and it's like the participants report it and they're making their own stuff and they don't have any control over it. Could you talk just a little bit about like what you need to think about when you're trying to like learn on your own and research about what's going on? Like what are the restrictions in terms of how you interpret information?
Oh man. So my master's was pretty much all just like reading research and trying to figure out if it's even a good research paper to begin with, right? Because you'll have something like that egg study you're talking about, and there was 7 participants. They did their own food log. There was, maybe no blood testing in the middle. Say it was like a 6-month study, or maybe it was it was a 6-week study, right? So there's variables there that you kind of have to logically think through, right? Like maybe eggs were bad for some people because I don't know what metric they were, say cholesterol was what they were measuring. And at the end of their short 6-week study, some of the participants had their cholesterol go up. But was that even a significant amount that it moved, right? Like, because that's where a lot of people on Instagram will be like, see, their cholesterol was raised. So it's like, was it significant though? Like, was that change significant?
Yeah. It's self reported. So did they also, now that they're eating eggs for breakfast, did they also eat 4 sausages and a half rack of bacon?
Yeah,
that's true.
That's
That's a good point. Yeah, like nothing occurs in isolation, so it's really hard, especially nutrition. It's so hard to like only look at one nutrient or one food item because things don't happen in isolation. Kind of what you're talking about. Yeah, if I'm making eggs in the morning, I'm also having some sausage, right? Or I'm putting some cheese on top of my scrambled eggs or something like that. If I'm just going out the door and I'm having a piece of toast with a coffee, well, I'm not having my egg, and of course I'm not going to have the sausage as well. So yeah, it's a good point that things don't happen in isolation.
Yeah, I was talking to a friend one time, and we were talking about what the perfect nutrition study would look like. And so it was like, okay, well, it's got to be in a metabolic ward. You got to control all the food that's in there, right? You need like 10,000 participants so you can create a bunch of blocks and controls, right? So you need like the people who came in with high cholesterol and the people who came in with low cholesterol and the people who came in overweight and underweight. And like, so you got to see like how that intervention is actually going to apply to all these different people in the population stuff. And it's like, this is it's a $200 million study to investigate one thing if you want to like, crank it down to, that kind of fidelity,
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's one of the reasons why nutrition science it takes so long to figure stuff out because like who's going to do the funding for that?
Yeah, big companies.
Right.
Yeah.
That aren't interested in that part of it.
Yeah.
Now I remember why I stopped. Goddamn Kellogg's.
Specifically.
General Mills.
We just lost Kellogg's as a sponsor.
That would really suck if we got an email that was like, "We were interested in giving you $1 million."
Yeah.
But
you were
they were going to give you a new studio and everything.
Yeah. We're ready for a new studio. It's been 6 months. I'm itching.
Every 6 months we get a new studio.
Yeah.
Ain't happening.
No. Okay. Before we go, I will try to get one more useful piece of information out on the day.
And I will try to derail it.
Thank you. Can we talk about in the space of working with athletes at least, like what are the supplements that you think are like are there sometimes, always, never supplements that you like to talk about with people?
Yeah. Again, there's going to be nuance here, so
Mhm.
people that are seeing this don't just go and blindly follow this, right? Things that I see on the majority, almost always I'm recommending, if they're not already taking it, a multivitamin and an omega-3, right? Those I just call an insurance plan. They are so cheap. And it just kind of helps bridge the gap. I live in Indiana, so we're a landlocked state. I'm not eating a ton of seafood, right? So I'm not going to be getting those omega-3s. The multivitamin with minerals, I know that my diet is not as diverse as I would like it to, right? I'm not, we typically get stuck in ruts of what we eat, and I love it because it's easy for grocery shopping, right? I know exactly what I'm making Monday through Saturday. Um, but that multivitamin is just kind of to bridge the gap. Then the next thing, especially for athletes, we are always talking protein intake, right? So some kind of protein supplementation. Usually it's a whey shake or it's ready to drink because sometimes the whey protein is a barrier for people just to put it in a shaker bottle and shake it up. So it's like, all right, let's just buy the ready to drink if your financial situation is fine. The Fairlife, the Nuris, the what a Premier
Muscle milk.
Muscle
Yeah.
Milk, yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Premier Protein, exactly. Um,
You
Go ahead.
when it comes to like protein sources, like literature wise, whey seems like the king of the mountain.
Right.
Does it make that big of a difference though if somebody wants to do like pea and rice protein or something because of, whatever ethical concerns or some other thing? Like is it a big
Like
difference
the
to do a
protein
different
index score,
Yeah.
like how much does
Yeah,
that
yeah, yeah.
matter?
Yeah.
Yeah, so first and foremost, we're going to need to focus on the amount of protein throughout the day. Then the
Yeah.
next thing I would probably worry about would be the protein timing, the spacing of it, right? So ideally, we'd like it evenly spaced out throughout the day. And then after that, maybe we can look at the sources, or the sourcing
Mhm.
of it. You were talking about the protein index for muscle synthesis, right? Whey is king on that. So like when they first made that scale, egg whites, I believe, was like a 1.0. I think it was
Mhm.
the kind of scaling that they used was a
Yep.
1.0. So egg whites were the king, and this was before whey. I'm pretty sure this was before whey was even a thing. And then right below that was like a whole egg. Right below that might have been like a steak. Right below that might have been chicken, whatever. Then whey came in and literally blew it out of the water. It's like I think it's like a 1.15 or something. Like it's better than they thought it could have ever been, right?
Uh-huh.
Of the scale.
Yeah, it's just like we're gonna need a new scale here. So yeah, I mean whey is great. Some people can't handle whey, or maybe they're like, I don't want anything from animal sources or whatever. So yeah, okay, pea, soy, whatever you want to do really, as long as again we're filling those first things first, like make sure you're getting enough. Like if you need 200 grams a day or 220, make sure you're getting that. Then this timing of it, and then we'll focus on the sourcing of it.
Yeah.
Which I would imagine most people never get to that.
Yeah,
Like most, unless you're really specific, you're competing in some way or have some sort of dietary restriction. Like most probably never need to think about them.
exactly. Yeah,
Unless
most
you
people
really
don't. Exactly. Yeah, most people don't go past the timing of it. And also it's just like, do you want to use that much, mental capacity as well? Like always having to do whey or whatever. Like don't stress yourself out about it. Get your protein target, spread it out, throughout the day in a reasonable manner. And then you're pretty much good to go. You're going to maximize, muscle protein synthesis there.
I've got to ask this question now,
Okay.
just in case Leah makes it to an hour and 18 minutes into this. Not happening. But she bought bone broth protein.
Oh yeah, collagen proteins.
And I was like, I was trying to be like, just get whey. So
Uh-huh.
I just don't want it. And I was like, and it was more spendy. And I was like, I guarantee you that it's just shit on the protein index. And I looked at it, it was like 0.24.
Yeah.
I was just like, just get whey. And then she, you know what I mean? She
Yeah.
was just like, I have no power over my wife, obviously.
Yeah, collagen supplementation is something that's really gone up. Is it worth doing? Is there evidence that collagen's a good bonus?
I haven't really gotten super into the weeds on collagen. I do think that there is some kind of benefit. I've seen people at least claim they've had good success with collagen, like skin and joints and stuff like that. I know to kind of maximize that, you're going to want to do it right before training and with vitamin C. So that already right there I feel like is a barrier because I don't usually take my protein right before training. I take it
I would hate it.
after. Exactly. So now it's just in your stomach. But that vitamin C kind of helps with the I don't know, collagen formation.
The absorption and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So we got vitamins, omega-3, protein. What's the next one on the?
I'm gonna come to. You said Leah. Is that her name?
Yes.
I'm gonna come to her defense though. Okay. So is she?
I figured this was happening.
Is
That's
she
why.
at least eating other protein sources throughout the day?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's kind of what we were talking about before. So it's not really that big of a deal. Maybe she just likes the taste of that collagen protein or whatever, and it might be not great on the protein index, whatever that scale is. But if she's eating some chicken throughout the day or some eggs or beef, like she's probably fine.
Yeah.
Damn it. Editing that, your mouth's gonna be moving. And he's gonna be like, bone broth is the worst.
Josh is gonna go home and throw away all the eggs and beef and chicken in the house.
Yeah, just to be like, you're not eating.
Yeah, you're not getting enough. You're not getting enough.
That's not happening.
Okay. So what's on the list after protein? What's your next supplement?
Creatine for sure. Creatine 5 to 10 grams. I know, 5 to 10 grams a day.
Yeah.
I did see something. I didn't read the research on it, but it's starting to show some, cognitive benefits as well. Even kind of blunting or, some of the the sleep effects. Like if you're having a bad night of sleep, they talked about something like 30 or 40 grams dose to kind of help with mental clarity, which I don't think I'd ever do a 30 to 40 gram dose, but that's what I saw. I didn't read the literature though.
Yeah, just in case anybody's watching this is thinking like, oh, I'm going to go check out high doses of creatine. I don't know what the safety, if there's a high-end safety for creatine, but I can tell you that if you take it, it retains a lot of water and your stomach really only has a certain processing time. So if you eat enough creatine, you just end up with a lot of water going through your body.
Also, not good. Not good for the food log.
Not good for the food log.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, any others, or does it get pretty conditional after creatine?
It gets pretty conditional after creatine, right? Like electrolytes are big right now. At least here in Indiana, it's super hot, and I train in essentially a warehouse. So if you're not eating enough salt, potassium, magnesium throughout the day, that's an easy supplement, right? Just throw in the water bottle. It kind of tastes good. And then after that, yeah, it kind of gets conditional after that. I do like, alpha GPC, rhodiola rosea. Those are for kind of mental focus, and rhodiola rosea is for like fatigue management as well.
Yeah. And then, what are some of the other ones that we hear about a lot?
I just missed
beta-alanine.
I miss back when you just got it on a stack. And you just went and you got your pre-workout, your post-workout, your intra-workout. And it was all like neon red when you shook it up. And it didn't tell you it was all proprietary blend.
You miss those days?
Yeah.
Where they sold you a lot of baking soda, which probably still made your endurance workout better, right?
Yeah.
I guess I should say I don't usually think of this as a supplement just because it's such a habitual thing that people consume anyways, is caffeine.
Yeah.
I mean, caffeine has got to be one of the goated supplements, right?
Yeah. It's also funny. Like I have this conversation with my kids all the time because I read a lot of the research around training, and when they talk about ergogenic dose of caffeine, it's usually like 4 to 8 milligrams or something. It's not a huge amount. A cup of coffee is like 40 or something. Frequently, it'll be a cup of coffee or something, so there'll be a bigger dose. But then they're like, kids will be like, well, I have my Red Bull before I go work out, and I'm like, okay, well that's somewhere, depending on the study, somewhere between 50 and 10 times the amount of caffeine that they used in the study.
So with caffeine, I think the recommendation for sport performance is it's pretty a wide range, but it's 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of body weight.
So, okay, so you can get pretty high.
Yeah, so I'm about 100 kilograms, right? That would be anywhere from 300 to 600.
Boom.
Right.
Showing that to my wife.
Yeah.
This is, like 30 to 40 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes prior to training, because I think caffeine spikes around that that window. The only issue that I see with that is people's sleep patterns, right? So at least with a recreational athlete, like I'm not getting paid to lift, right? I just like to lift. I am going to be training after work, right? So after my work day, I'm going to the gym. Don't think that's probably the best time to be slamming 600 milligrams of caffeine when I should be in bed in probably about 5 hours, right?
Yeah. Yeah, because
The
that is
best.
a good consideration, right? Because like the most effective time to train seems to be like early afternoon. Like in terms of, your nervous system's most alert, you seem to be the strongest and fastest and all that kind of stuff. Body's the most ready for doing stuff. And so if you take 600 milligrams of caffeine, which keeps you from getting tired, and then you want to go to bed in a few hours, it's probably gonna be pretty rough. I just learned something new. I didn't know that. I'm excited.
You're
Uh,
also got to look at like when they're doing the study, I'd imagine they're giving the clients caffeine,
Right.
mhm.
like just caffeine. Where if you're taking a Monster that's got other things, sugars and everything
Yeah.
else, like so it is
Got to count for
also
the other stuff.
yeah. I feel like 4 Monsters to get to your 600 milligrams or whatever. Two, I guess it would probably be 2 Monsters, but like you're introducing it's the bacon and eggs.
Hmm.
It's not just eggs we're talking about anymore. You now you introduce some bacon.
We also
Yeah.
gotta think, did you have any other caffeine previously in the day too?
Right.
Because it's not, you drink your Monster and then you get the caffeine and it's immediately out, right? Caffeine has a half-life of about, I think it's 6 to 8 hours. So if you ingest 200 milligrams of caffeine at noon, in 8 hours, so 8 p.m., the half life, you have about 100 milligrams still in your bloodstream. So it kind of compounds on top of each other. So if you're having a cup or 2 cups of coffee in the morning, your evening training, you still have caffeine in your system. So you got to account for that.
Yeah. Is there I can't remember reading any papers about it, but is there any research on, or are you aware of any research on how we acclimate to caffeine and then caffeine usage in sport? Like if we're using it all the time, is it effective, or is it better to use it like on performance days,
So it does seem to be effective even if you don't feel the effects of it,
Mhm.
right? So yeah, some people will be like, "Oh, I don't feel stimulated by the caffeine anymore." And at that point, as the coach maybe or the athlete, what's important is stringing together 3 months of good hard training better than on competition day being a little bit more stimulated. You know what I mean? Like if you're able to utilize that tool for 3 months leading up to the competition, even if you might not feel stimulated from the caffeine, which is better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, cool.
I didn't answer one question I had. I forgot. Immediately started talking and forgot all the questions.
Are there any things that you see in the supplement space that you think people just shouldn't be getting? Like, I remember ages ago when I first really got into nutrition research, I remember like buying like CoQ10 was really big, and I remember at some point somebody put out a protein that was like $60 a pound, and it was essentially just beef. Like when I read the when I read the label, I was like, "You just remade beef without the fun. It just tastes bad." And I kind of fell out of love with nutrition research for a little bit, or at least supplementation, because I realized like, oh, they're just you know, they're trying to make something out of nothing, right?
Yeah.
Um,
There's tons and tons and tons, hundreds, thousands of supplements that, I see and I'm like, why are you taking this? They don't know why they're taking it. And I've never heard of it. And I look it up and it looks like there's zero efficacy to it. What I would say with supplements is change one thing at a time. We kind of talked about proprietary blends. Just change one thing, right? So if you got your basic stack, you've got your multivitamin and you got your omega, you use whey protein as needed, you take creatine every day, right? Okay, now add one other thing. Is there an effect? Yay or nay? There's no effect, cut it out, you don't need it. Or, do blood work, whatever you want to do if you want to get really in the weeds about it. But there's not enough of that. People just hear on Instagram like, "Oh, take this supplement, take this supplement." So they might not realize it, but months or years down the road, they've got 12 supplements that they're taking every single day. And they're like, "I don't know if this works, but I've been taking it." And so they just keep taking it, right? And they don't know what to pull away because they don't know what actually moves the dial or moves the needle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, and it's an interesting space to be in because like it's not as bad as it used to be, but the supplement space used to be just the the black market of retail where like, people would sell whatever and say it was whatever, and you never knew what you were getting or what was really in it or how much there was. And
Is that on Bigger, Faster, Stronger where he makes his own pill?
yeah,
And
in his garage
picks
with
up
like
guys from Home Depot and they're just packing
Yeah.
sawdust into pills.
I think that, I mean, definitely where you're getting your supplement. I use Full Script. Full Script is a pharmaceutical grade supplement dispensary, and what you get from there is like what it says on the label is what you're going to get, because a lot of times on Amazon, people will kind of like throw on the same label, like Thorne, right? Thorne is like one of those premier supplement brands.
Yeah, everything's third party tested.
Yeah, NSF, safe for
Yeah,
sports or whatever.
Yeah.
Third party tested, yada yada, the whole nine. People will get that branding, and they'll just put in, maybe baking soda capsules or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's because it's kind of the Wild West. Supplements is kind of the Wild West.
Yeah. Yeah, and even the companies that make like that do have the third party testing and the safe sport, like third party for content and safe sport for that it doesn't contain any banned, competitive substances. Even those like they'll sell everything. Like they'll sell you stuff that's like you go on there and it's like we've got weasel butt gland juice,
and it's tested. It is safe.
Yeah, it is weasel butt gland juice. That is what we're selling you.
It's deer antler spray.
Yeah. But like, why would anybody ever need it?
Yeah. There is a really good resource called examine.com that you can do a paid version or you can do a free version, but you can type in any supplement and it'll kind of give you a breakdown of the efficacy of it, whether it's, whether you should take it, shouldn't take it, the warnings. So that's a great website to kind of reference.
Cool. All right. Well, I think that's a good note. Where can people find you at? We'll wrap up today's show. But we should have you back because again, we were way too excited. We talked too long about stuff that we were just rambling.
Yeah,
I apologize.
We lost the thread pretty soon, right? It was like no thread. I think
we kind of got back to it at the end though. That last half hour I felt like was pretty good, but
I enjoyed it. I learned.
Yeah. I definitely learned a thing or two, so that's always good. All right, so where can they find you at?
I guess my Instagram, Michael G. Horner. You can just slide in the DMs there, and I can get you my email and whatever.
Help you out with that food log.
Yeah, I'll help you out with the food log, exactly. Other than that, I mean, I do. I work with a private practice here in Indiana called Aligned Health Practice. I also do my own thing called Horner Health LLC. So whichever one would work for you, if you want some nutrition counseling, if you're somebody that's looking for some weight loss, weight gain, maybe just learn how to eat a little better, I can definitely help you out. And we will not be talking about food logs unless you want to.
I mean, it's important. Somebody might need to have a conversation about it. Michael will help you out.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Like, comment, subscribe. Helps out the show a ton. We really appreciate it. Thank you.